Okay, so we're into session 3, and succession and interplanting is probably the most interesting, I think, of the 3, because we're going to try and get the best, the most, out of the little plots, for those people who are using the small plots, and also for everybody who's using slightly bigger plots, because you can definitely plant a lot of stuff. In fact, Mel Bartholomew, the author of this book, Square Foot Gardening, reckons that you can actually feed one person out of a 4x4 square foot plant. That is double this piece of paper here. Basically, this is 2 square feet. I measured it off. That's why I've done it. But if you double that up, if you like salads and you don't want too many vertical growing plants like tomatoes that go up, and cucumbers and that sort of thing, you can actually grow enough food for one person on one of those size plants. It's amazing. But sometimes I think he's a little bit squidgy with his plot sizes, because he says you can grow a bush bean and something that size. And I say, I say, you fit 6 in a foot, but that's really pushing it. That's asking for some of the molds and mildews that we hit last year. So this is why we're looking at this. Okay, so we have the professional plot on the left-hand side. We have on the right-hand side yours truly's unprofessional plot. And for those of you who took pole beans tonight, there are pole beans down at the front desk. Please feel free to take them. I will bring some more next week. They are Scarlet Runner, which is a red-flowered one, which the hummingbirds absolutely love. But beware, they will go, if you let them, they'll go 8 feet tall. So you've got to have space. Not so much space on the ground, but space going up. But they will give you, I was given, 3 years ago, I was given 5 seeds. I now have 350 something seeds. And that's after a really big harvest. So they are extremely good growing, but they do like fertile soil. So that leads into next week's one, which is going to be all about going out into the garden and actually improving your soil and then growing things outside. And you'll see in this funny picture of mine, at the back of the picture, you'll see some poles that look like a wigwam. Those are actually my bean poles. But I've since then, this was taken 2 years ago, so right up the top there are the wigwams that I grow them up. Those are 12 feet high, so they go flying up those. They're like the Russian, there's a Russian vine called Mile a Minute, which grows literally a foot a day. These things grow like that, and they've got the right soil. So, you'll see that mine's nowhere near as tidy as these other people, and I don't do it in blocks as yet. I can't afford to. So, the problem with raised beds is that they are quite expensive to set up, but they are wonderful, wonderful, wonderful things to have. So, for those of you who, like me, don't have an awful lot of disposable income, there are ways of doing it. Okay, so there's a huge handout. So you'll see, I'm going to fly through a whole lot of things tonight because obviously we've got limited time as usual. But please, that handout is very, very useful. Okay, so we're looking at 4 feet by 4 feet. As I said before, that sheet there is actually 2 feet by 2 feet. And I put my dog in because she's 4 foot long. That's why she's in. Sorry, that was bad. Anyway, this table is probably just over 4 foot long. It's probably about 5 foot long. So you're looking, it's a pretty small area, but Mel Bartholomew has proven it time and time again. He's taken it to Africa, he's taken it to Korea, he's taken it to Laos, he's taken it to South America, and he's proven time and time again with his foundation that this square foot gardening actually does work. And he has a foundation now. You'll find on his website that it looks a bit commercial, but it's basically because he is taking the money from training up people to teach you how to do this, and they're charging you how to, to learn how to do it. But he's taking that money so that he can send people out into the world to actually help other people to do it, and they do it free. The central picture here is of various different situations. That's actually slightly bigger. That's a 16 foot by 16 foot. But it's to show you that the big round circle is actually 1 plant per square foot, like your cabbage, cauliflower, kale, not zucchini, zucchini is even bigger than that, but all the brassicas, peppers, and bush tomatoes, those sort of things, take up 1 square. 4 squares, we're looking at things like chard, some beetroot, some of the bigger beetroots, what are the other things? Lettuces. The romaine type lettuce, the upright lettuce, you can grow in 4 square foot. And the 16s obviously things like small onions, radishes, carrots, turnips, parsnips, those sort of things. Anyway, we'll come back to that later. So, moving on from kumi, my beautiful girl. Small plants per square. So, here you have the list. Now, this will be going up on the website, and it will also be, when Travis gets this up onto the YouTube, each of these will actually be linked to the part that I'm talking about. So, you don't have to take enormous notes. So, 16 radishes, 16 carrots, 16 onions, 9 bush beans. Now, I say 6. Especially our bush beans, because I think they're a bit bigger than some of the American ones.
And they fall over.
And they fall over, yeah. So, you know, you have a potential problem there. 9 garlic. Again, it depends on the garlic. If you get a really big garlic, that's going to be a bit of a tight squeeze in space. But don't forget to plant garlic in the fall rather than the spring. Plant them in the spring, but they won't get as big as the ones that you've actually planted in the fall. Okay, 9 beet, 8 peas. Now we'll come back to peas later because I have a theory that isn't quite the same as his about going up trellises for a start, which we'll come to, and also the closer you, well, the wider your row of peas when you're going straight down the line, they tend to look after each other. They allow each other to grow up each other, so you save space. So 4 chard. 4 lettuce, 4 parsley, if you're going to grow parsley, and 4 annual flowers like cosmos or borage or Alison. That is Alison, that's the little white, low-growing, but it's brilliant for a lot of the pollinators and a lot of the things like the tachinid. Do you remember we talked about tachinid flies and tachinid wasps last week? Well, this will draw in your pollinators and it'll draw in a lot of your beneficials. And it's very useful to grow around the edges of your plot. And it's very sweet, it smells like honey, it's great. Okay, so then we go for the big plants. 1 tomato per square, 1 bell pepper per square, 1 eggplant, 1 cabbage, 1 cauliflower, 1 kale, 1 broccoli, 1 Brussels sprout. Well, yes, but again, if you push things too close together, they are going to get possibly not enough air around them, and therefore they're going to get mildews, molds, rusts, whatever. So just be a little bit chary with that. 2 cucumbers if you're going vertically, 1 melon, 1 vining squash. Now I've got a vining squash, which I bought it from South Africa, don't tell anybody. But that thing has to go up or along because it's 25 foot long by the time it's finished, so don't try growing it in 4 square feet. It's called a gem squash or a cannonball. It's green and it's small. It's only about literally the size of a cannonball. But if ever you get to cook them, or you do manage to find them, don't not pierce them. Sorry, that's double negative. Pierce them, because otherwise they will explode like cannonballs. They're quite something. Right, 4 pearl beans. Yeah, well we'll get to all the ones that grow upwards in a minute. If you're going to grow potatoes, you do really need probably about a square foot per potato, because if you want a proper harvest, otherwise squash them up together, they will only grow small. And corn, obviously, but again, all those things for the start are things that need full sun for 6 to 8 hours a day. So if you don't have full sun, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to grow. Okay, and that little collection in the middle there was just 1 day's picking last fall. So that's quite nice. Right, so the climbers. Obviously, you've got 2 types of tomato. The determinate tomato is the one that is the bush tomato. Okay, the indeterminate one is the one that goes upwards. Pole beans, do start them direct into the ground. So don't, those of you who've taken pole beans tonight, there are pole beans at the back for those of you who haven't seen them yet. They're free. I got given 5 3 years ago. I've got something like 350 seeds. So please, feel free to take them. They are the Scarlet Runner and they will go high. Pre-soak, don't pre-soak them overnight. Lots of books say pre-soak overnight. If you do, they will go soggy. You can cook them with pleasure, but it won't necessarily germinate. Is everybody hearing me all right? Is it better than last week? Yeah. Okay. Certain squashes, you start the ground. Certain squashes, you start inside. Quite honestly, most of the seed catalogs will tell you which ones to start the ground and which to actually go down. OSC and VCs have both got very good growing guides in these books, so that's good. Sweet peas, anybody wants to start sweet peas, do start them. Well, I start mine indoors. Lots of people don't. They start on the ground pretty well by the end of April. But again, pre-soak for about an hour, 2 hours. If you do more than that, you might lose them, they might get too soggy. So those are the climbers that we're just going to have a quick glance at. I'm only really looking at the sort of more usual things that we grow. I'm not looking at things like sweet potatoes and okra because they are slightly more difficult to grow. Sweet potatoes, if we have hot summer, they'll do wonderfully. If we don't, they're a bit iffy. Okay, so now we've got to differentiate when we're looking at these. So we've looked at the size of plants. We're looking now at which are going to be the ones that will be your spring harvest, and then your summer harvest, and then the cool weather plants, you can always get a fall harvest out of as well, as long as you plant them mid-June to July. So your cool vegetables, spring or fall, don't forget, you've got to plant in the middle of the season. Peas, beets, the cabbage family, otherwise you're going to get split cabbage if you try and keep it if you try and grow it so that it will actually head up properly in the summer. Because often if you don't water them enough, they'll split. Asparagus, obviously, but that is a perennial, don't forget. You can't just sort of plant that in the ground and think that it'll grow once. So perennial is one of those things that you're going to put in one corner and it's going to stay there for the next 15 years. Because asparagus can last a good long time if you look after your place. Rhubarb, obviously the same, but rhubarb is going to take a lot of space. Rhubarb will quite often take the full take half your plot. So if you've got the space, that's fine. I have a friend who's got a garage, and she's got bats in the loft of the garage. And they fly out just directly above her rhubarb plant. And oh boy, she doesn't eat the rhubarb, but her plants are that tall. They are huge. I was thinking, that guano, yes. Lettuces like to be cool. Now, if you're going to grow them in summer, grow them in the shade of something else. And there are specific lettuces nowadays that will grow in summer and will not bolt within 5 minutes. Because that's what you find. They go straight up and they get beautiful flowers. Oh yeah, but they are as bitter as I don't know what. Same with radishes. Radishes, good for the spring, good for the fall. Midsummer, they'll split, or they'll get hard and woody. Same with beetroot. Onions obviously need 20 weeks to come to maturity. If you buy them as sets, the little baby ones that are already pre-started growing, they will only take something like possibly 14 weeks to grow. That's why most of us buy sets, because it's so much easier than trying to grow them from seed. Chard you can actually plant in the fall and make sure that you cover it up well in the winter and come away in the spring for you. Yeah. It's surprising, if you cover it up with hay or with straw, it will come away for you in the spring. It won't be as good a crop as a spring or fall planted, summer planted for fall, but you can get chard that will actually grow over the winter. The hot veg, the summer veg, obviously most people are starting their tomatoes already now, hopefully, and lots of people. I think James has got some really good peppers going. Good man. Eggplant you should be starting now if you haven't started it already, because that's another one that takes quite a long time.